Happy Wednesday, everyone. My name is meteorologist Heather Kay, and it's time for our daily hail forecast, sponsored as always by See-Through Group, Merlin Law Group, American Contractor Show, as well as Atlas Roofing. Thank you guys for sponsoring our videos. So let's get right into our weather headlines. We do have a chance to see some severe wind in parts of central and southern Nebraska late tonight. So we'll talk about that. And then getting into tomorrow, we have another severe wind risk. It's going to be stretching from basically Kansas all the way up into Wisconsin, so we'll talk about that as well. And then really our big story at this moment is Tropical Storm Nicole. We'll talk about how strong she is right now, will she become a hurricane, and where and when she is expected to make landfall. So here are our current conditions across the country. For the most part, overall, in terms of severe weather right now, we're pretty quiet, but we do have a few areas that we're going to be watching. The main area, of course, right now is Tropical Storm Nicole. She is still out in the Atlantic, hitting some land here, making its way off to the west towards Florida. We do have some tropical storm warnings out, as well as some hurricane warnings. Again, right now, Nicole is still just a very strong tropical storm. She's not a hurricane just yet, but she may try to make a run for it before she hits Florida late tonight. And you can see we already have some rain bands moving on shore to parts of central and southern Florida. Then moving off into the northern plains, we have some showers going on right now in parts of northern Minnesota, even some mixed precipitation and some snow falling in the northern parts of the state. And then moving off into Nebraska, it is relatively quiet right now. We do have just some clouds going on at this moment in time. And then the system that we'll be watching in the next day or two is onshore and is producing some snow in the Rockies. So moving on out to look at our temperatures, it's pretty warm across the central part of the country down into the southern part of the U.S. It's 70 right now in Kansas City, 77 in Dallas, 83 in Houston, and then we have some cooler weather elsewhere across the U.S., especially if you get north in the northern plains, where it is pretty cold out there, cold enough to see that snow falling. In Denver, unfortunately, you guys may not be able to get a whole lot of work done, as it is only at 42 degrees out there. And then our dew points, you can see that moisture return starting to come back in, with dew points getting up into the lower 60s from Wichita down to Dallas. And then pretty dry elsewhere except for Florida, where we have a dew point of 72. So here's our future radar. This is for tonight. We're going to stay relatively dry in Nebraska for most of today. The exception will be here in the eastern part of the state with a scattered shower or two. But then as we get into later on this evening and into the overnight hours, we'll be watching basically from North Platte southward for the chance for a severe wind gust or two with this line of showers that will be pushing through the area. And then as we get into later on into the overnight, that line will continue to push off to the east and give us some more wind gusts possible as we reach daybreak. Now getting down to Florida, again, here's Tropical Storm Nicole. As we get into later on this afternoon, Nicole and the bands associated with it will continue to move westward and impact the state with some very heavy rainfall. And of course, a spin-up tornado or two is not out of the question with those outer bands. And then getting into later on into the evening and into the overnight hours, this is at 1 p.m. Central, so 2 p.m. Eastern. This is when we're expecting most likely Hurricane Nicole making landfall somewhere in southeastern Florida. And then as we get near daybreak, Nicole will track off to the northwest and bring some more heavy rain to the state and Nicole is expected to move off into the Gulf tomorrow morning and then track off to the north and making a second landfall. More of that in just a second. But first, here is today's wind forecast. Just a small area here, again with a band of showers expected to develop late tonight. So basically North Platte to Grand Island, just a very isolated gust of 60 miles per hour or two is possible there with that line. And then of course, as we go into Florida with Nicole, this is going to be for late tonight when Nicole is expected to make landfall. 60 to 70 mile per hour gusts will be possible, and then we could see some gusts up to 75 to maybe 80 miles per hour as Nicole's eye makes landfall here in Florida. So moving off into tomorrow, we're going to be waking up and there'll be some showers ongoing, and this will be the area that we'll be watching for that potential for wind for tomorrow afternoon. So basically from Minneapolis eastward to Madison, you can see these isolated cells here from basically the area that I just mentioned all the way down to Iowa, down to Kansas. You could see some gusty winds here, and then we can get those storms to fire up a bit more as we move into the evening, and it's going to slowly track off to the east here as we go from tomorrow evening into tomorrow night and into early Friday. So yeah, we gotta go through the whole time frame here. So as we go now down to Florida for tomorrow morning, as I mentioned, it is expected to make landfall late tonight, so around 2 a.m. Eastern time for you guys in Florida. And then by tomorrow morning at 7, Nicole's eye will be in the middle of the state. And then as we get into tomorrow afternoon, Nicole's center will get out into the Gulf of Mexico and then track off to the northwest and make a second landfall here in the Florida Peninsula. And then, ooh, something just happened. Oh, darn it then. I don't know if we're still going or not. Any idea? Huh? Press it again. Just the number 1. Am I still being seen? Because I can't see anything on mine. Boop, 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 boop. Okay. I can see stuff here. I can't see anything on front. So I guess I'm still live, hopefully. And I'm just going to use my side screens because that's all I can see right now. I can't see in front. Anyway, so here is Nicole going to continue track off to the north as we get into tomorrow. And into, well, yeah, tomorrow and into the Friday morning. So here is, and I still can't, they keep controlling it. Yeah. Yep, they're going to keep resetting. We have a meeting going on in a little bit, so that's why I think we're fighting computers here. Anyway, so I'm going to try and talk really, really fast. We have a wind chance for tomorrow, basically going from Kansas all the way up into Wisconsin with those line of storms that will be going on through. I think Des Moines has the best chance with that. And then getting down into Florida with Nicole, we have some wind gusts possible up to 60. And then some tornado chances elsewhere with those bands of storms moving on through. So again, a spin up tornado or two is possible with those storms. Now getting into our jet stream, here is our main trough that is now into the western parts of the country. We will be watching this for tomorrow afternoon. So this is going to continue to move off to the east as we get into tomorrow, and you can see some really cold air that will be coming on in west of that system, and then that trough will continue to dig off to the south as we get into our Friday. So basically the end of the week and into our weekend, I think we should be relatively quiet, but it's going to cool down big time for most of us across the lower 48 as we get from Friday into Saturday, as well as into Sunday, with that jet stream very far to the south, and that pattern will continue as we get into our Monday. So here is our Cape, the instability needed for those storms. You can see they're not really that impressive, but we do have some instability there. Again, we'll be watching parts of Nebraska as we get into late tonight. That instability, again, will be present. And then getting into tomorrow afternoon, once again, we will have that chance for severe wind tomorrow, but there's not a whole lot of instability, so I think the severe weather will be kind of spotty, and it's going to be limited to wind only. And as we get into Friday, those values drop off. So here is our look ahead forecast for Friday. We do have a chance that we'll be watching in southern Texas for severe weather, but then I think really the main deal is going to be for up into the eastern part of the U.S. with Nicole, for not just a wind gust or two, but also that chance for tornadoes. So here is Nicole again, just spinning off into parts of the Atlantic, moving off to the west, and she's going to continue to move off to the west as we get into later on this afternoon and evening into the overnight hours. Here are our watches and warnings. Plenty of tropical storm warnings out for most of Florida, getting up into parts of southern Georgia and even as far north as Charleston, South Carolina. And a small area of hurricane warnings are in effect as well. And then even parts of southern Georgia, we have some tropical storm watches out for you guys. So here is Nicole again, still just a tropical storm. 70 miles per hour is our max gusts. This evening is when she's expected to become a hurricane, so 7 p.m. Eastern time, and then around 2 a.m. in the morning is when Nicole's expected to make landfall, and then will move off the coast into the Gulf of Mexico and most likely make a second landfall here around Thursday at around 7 in the evening, and then we'll track off to the northeast and weaken considerably as she does so for our Friday and Friday evening. And in terms of that, that is all I have for you today. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and our TikTok page. And then if you have any questions, concerns, or you just want to say hi, you can give us a call at 855-334-4245. They can email us at info@hailtrace.com and check out our website at www.hailtrace.com. And I am meteorologist Heather Kay. I hope you all have a great rest of your Wednesday.